Hey guys, this video has been in the making. I used to do all the videos inside and I felt so claustrophobic, so right there at my desk, and why not do some of these videos outdoors? So thank you for the pedal. Okay, so anyway, we're talking about Uranus and Taurus. Oh gosh, I mean, Uranus is a planet, for those of you who don't know. And for those of you of my generation, we were brought up calling it Uranus, and there's nothing wrong about that. And I'm just going to say, they changed the pronunciation because a lot of people were offended. Well, I'm offended that they keep thinking of sex when they should be focused on other things. And when they show their offense, because something might sound like something else, it shows their mentality and their lack of focus, which means they're not mature, let alone responsible. And I don't want to deal with those people because they're actually dangerous and they can't stick to what is important, just so you know. And that is something very important, because Uranus in Taurus. Taurus is a very pleasure-seeking sign. We want to enjoy. And sensuality, all the senses. That means touch, smell, taste, what we feel. Okay, we're really I like this, but let me move over just a little. Everything that will enhance the senses, what we smell. So be careful, because two is certain things can be offensive. A lot of our senses are heightened during this time. Uranus really brings activity to our nervous system. So people who throw on a lot of perfumes, I remember when I used to teach, for an example, when I used to teach, I really had to tell the students, please, to put on their perfumes and sprays outside of class and after that they left my class room. I know they want to smell nice, especially teenagers, because they're worried about their hormonal changes and body odor. But a lot of people forget that just because they like the smell of something doesn't mean that everybody else does. And also, what is their intention? They want to smell good, or they want to smell good for a certain group. They could be actually insulting. I had to usually I'm the DD when I go out, and certain people I stopped driving for because they would put on tons of perfume, or hairsprays and things on before coming into the car, and it was just like, oh, you gotta get out. There's no way, that might smell nice to a man or a female who's into females, but it's actually offensive to me. So take into consideration, what you are doing, what is your intent, okay? Also, those around, because if you're not in agreement in what your intent is, then it could be offensive. And Taurus, the sign of Taurus, do get offended, and it's a stubborn sign. They don't like to change. So it's really interesting because Uranus does not feel comfortable in this sign. And something just told me I need to check to make sure we're recording. Okay, it's showing that we're recording. I don't know, just for some reason, Hey, Ragnar. So it's a stubborn sign. It likes stability and routine, okay? It finds comfort and security in the mundane. And I'm not using the word mundane as an insult, but more as something to go back to all the time, the part of the routine, okay? In fact, a lot of Taurus look forward to the daily grind from their vacation, because maybe there was too much activity in the vacation. At least they know in the daily grind what's to be expected. So too many crisis situations. The thing is, though, Uranus is all full of sudden changes, unexpectedness. So lightning flash, all right? That's why we have Uranus rules Aquarius, and that's why Aquarius has the symbol the electric waves, okay? Those are not water waves. Those are electric, energetic frequency waves. And so it is very much into heightened, okay? And so when it moves quickly, it can disturb Taurus. So also that means find out where in your chart. And if you're not sure, go ahead, contact me for a reading on how Uranus is going to affect you in the next 7+ years, because Uranus is staying in Taurus until somewhere in 2026. I don't have all my notes. I just wrote a few words here. It does go retrograde next year. And, you know, so I'm not going to talk about every little planetary aspect about Uranus, what it's going to make in the next 7+ years. I'll just refer to a couple of them in this next 2 years, but also to be very aware of what is the emphasis. Now, since Uranus is a slow-moving planet, the slow-moving planets affect generations. So people who had, I know my generation, Uranus, where was Uranus? Was in Libra. So a lot of, and it was in the beginning of Libra when I was born. So a lot of people born at the end of the 1960s and all the way through mid 1970s, since it was in, to give an example, in Libra, there were sudden rupture separations, okay, in their relationships and partnerships. So here we have, with Uranus and Taurus, there's going to be sudden separations and detachments and changing of values, because Taurus also rules the second house of values and monetary. So there is a whole new monetary system that has been coming about. It's been becoming more electronic. And so and that's going to be hard for those people who are trying to stay off the grid. You know, I had a client who likes to pay everything with cash, and I'm like, oh gosh, you know, you have a card, you know, let me just swipe it because I paid through the card, right? And so they're like, no. I'm like, well, that's going to be a thing. I go, okay, I'll accept your cash, but that meant I need to go now and to the credit union, to the bank, and make a deposit, okay, as opposed to taking care of things nice and quick. So I don't want to add a cash fee, whereas before, it's so interesting because 20 years ago we added a fee for doing things electronically instead of with cash, and now it's slowly switching, okay, because that fee means we have to leave our location, take time and effort to make a deposit, you know. So as opposed to, especially if you're a small business, if you're a big business, you know, you probably, you know, do it, you know, every single day. So another thing with Taurus is when I say the sense is food, going is very important, and the taste. And what's important too is there's going to be a lot of concerns of food addictive diseases like diabetes, fibromyalgia, okay, endometriosis, and fibroids, all those cancers. A lot of those are from food addictions or malnutrition or food abusive eating habits, okay? And so that's coming into light more, and being aware of that and taking responsibility. I know a lot of people, you know, will be like there with their coffee and take a selfie and go, So what they're doing is they're giving praise to the coffee gods, okay? It's so funny because this is also a time of too is paganism. What is paganism? A lot of people are pagans, and they don't realize, okay, because of their ignorance of what is paganism, their ignorance and what is adoration and giving prayer and meditation and focus, intent, all that is the same. You know, when we give a prayer, we're putting focus into something. There is an intent. When we do a meditation, Okay, just some people do it with ceremony. And the reason some people do it with ceremony is because it creates the higher frequency. When you go to church and you pray with a group, you are doing a ceremony and you're doing it in a group. It's higher frequency, very much showing the values, the frequencies, okay, of Taurus. Also creating a group, a support group in that. And so it's very typical. Well, when they do that, you know, let's all put up our glasses of margaritas. I know you guys are not going to like this, and I'm not criticizing, I'm just stating facts, okay? Because you'll see me posting up there all my wonderful recipes, and I say wonderful because I don't post unless I get an okay from the guys that say, yes, this can go on the recipe menu. So, because you guys just don't witness all the terrible, all my terrible recipes that we decide to check, you know. So anyway, you'll hear people using more words like that, wonderful, and words going with nature, with the foods, being more holistic and being down to earth, less packaged food, okay, because it's not natural. Our bodies can't process that. Seriously, at what point did we think that we were going to be able to evolve so quickly and process all that food? It's also going to be, what are you putting on you? What are you putting in you? What are you putting around you? All those energies, okay? Mother Nature's very high frequency. It's very beautiful. You go to the beach, the waves, the beach is very high negative ions. Yes, negative ions are actually positive energy for you. Okay, I know it's kind of like an oxymoron, right? Sweet and sour, but it is. Just go with it, okay? We're gonna talk about the science of that later. So, you know, really understanding that and accepting and being one with it. Really, you know, grounding. Go barefoot and feel, okay? I mean, it was so necessary. We tell the kids, go play outside, move around, stretch your body, intake that oxygen, really feel it, okay? Your posture is going to be important. Just think of Ferdinand the Bull, who to really be one with nature and keep those shoulders, okay, open, because it opens up the heart chakra and the throat chakra to inhale and take in that oxygen. Very important during this time of Uranus, because if you're not centered and you're not grounded and you're not taking in sufficient amount of oxygen, your nervous system, because Uranus rules the nervous system, is going to go zzz, okay? You're going to have a shortage. It's like putting a knife to an outlet. Okay, and you don't want that, because that affects then your thinking process. When we don't have enough oxygen, when we don't have enough good nutrients and vitamins in our body, it affects our thinking process. So, just like now, there have been a few court cases where parents have been taken to court by either doctors, dentists, okay, social workers, the public education system, for abusive, okay, food tendencies with their children. And it's incredible. We think, oh, that can't be. Yes, it can. Just like locking a child into a closet is abusive, so is giving them high sodium foods, high sugar foods, all right? High bad cholesterol foods. All right, that's the LDL cholesterol, okay? And anything of excess, a kid overweight, all right? Now, some stuff is genetic. Well, it's genetic because also it's already in the system, and then you make it worse because the family has a tendency towards that way. It's an addiction. And Taurus is all about addiction, and Uranus wants to rip away those addictions. Coffee is addiction. Put up that Starbucks, say, ooh, I'm wonderful. You know, this is so great. I love my coffee. You are telling the whole world you're addicted, which also means, okay, you are not going to find, anytime we're dealing with addictions, I should know, I'm just going to tell you guys head off so you guys realize I am not criticizing. I'm just stating facts. I used to have a Cheeto addiction, okay, that yellow red coloring is very addictive, and it's in Cheetos, it's in Doritos, and macaroni and cheese, and oh my god, I could eat that big bag of Cheetos by myself. Another addiction that I had was sodium. Okay, it was like I was brought up where they always put the salt before the food, you know, for the first 10 years of my life. And I'm not pointing fingers. They thought they were sharing something positive with me, all right? And so especially too, because in that time period, there was this whole concern of not having enough iodine, and they had enriched the table salt with iodine, so thinking that it was good for our thyroid to do that. But then what happened, it created an addiction. So a lot of our addictions were well intent, believe it or not, okay? But we're learning that they're no-nos now. And so the hardest people that are dealing with these are people like my parents' generation and my grandparents' generation. And especially now, if you have people like that age group caring for the younger ones, they are going to share those addictions with them, okay? Now the people younger than me, they have this sugar addiction, and they also have a sodium addiction. All those ramen noodles, those Lunchables are terrible. They're all pure salt. Okay, so if you could puree, if you're a mother or parent or a caretaker, and you have a baby and they're doing foods already, you know, breastfeed straight from the breast. They need that, and that is also part of, okay, the cow, the bull is all, you know, Taurus, and having that direct hormonal interchange is so important. Okay, because without it, there's no sense of security or stability for that child. And that's why these children get ADD, ADHD already, especially the boys, when they can't handle emotional overload. So they shut off, and they teach themselves already as fetuses, you know, the energy to shut off for survival. So that's why too, when we going from foods, we're understanding how Uranus and Taurus is going to affect our food addictions. Okay, to eat more natural, eat more potatoes instead of meat. There's going to be a big thing going of protecting more animals, and I know some meat eaters are like, oh, hell no, there's no way I can have it. Just so you know, by saying that, you are telling us you're addicted, okay, to the cholesterol in them, just FYI. But aside from that, you know, you want to go ketosis and paleo, just make sure you are in the physical state that you can, okay? Because there are some people who are trying to get healthy, and they start on paleo or ketosis style, and then they end up with thalamus and thyroid problems because of the extreme they went to, you know, especially females. So be aware of that. You know, your husband's or your male partner diet is not going to necessarily be fit for the female, okay? And that's for obvious reasons. We don't have all the same body parts and hormones, or the quantity of hormones running through our body or necessary. So another thing with Uranus and Taurus, you know, besides the toxic items we're putting on ourselves and the smell, we're going to go more towards essential oils, incense, no more plug-ins with artificial toxins coming out. More, I know there's a nice, I try not to use brand names. So there's these nice ceramics that you could plug in, and then you put, you know, with a light bulb or with a candle, and then you put the ceramic on top, the oils there, or the incense, okay? That is more natural. Being aware what you're putting on your body, okay? The fluoride of the water that you're washing with, having more natural air, opening, letting nature be in your house, more plants in your house to clean up that oxygen. This is something too that, you know, what amazes me is how gyms, you would think gyms where people sweat so much and let out so much toxins from their body, let alone, let alone from their mouth and then their pores. And you don't see any plants. In fact, a lot of them are closed up. Yeah, they have air conditioners with air filters. It's not the same thing. We are going back to nature. This is like going back in the 60s when even, people are going to be in co-ops together and communities where we are going back to organic. I know that I have a bunch of organic avocado trees, okay? And so anytime I get those seeds of organic seeds, I try to plant them, take the time and plant them because, organic was something we thought was the standard. We have realized in the past 20 years isn't. I had a situation where I had fibroids and the irritable bowel syndrome since the 90s, not realizing what was going on. I mean, goodness, talking about addictions earlier, I had a Snapple addiction because I would drink 3 a day. I know, all that sugar, can you believe it? I was a college student. I thought it was good because advertisements say made from the best stuff on earth, right? And they're a green tea one, so I knew that green tea was healthy. I thought I was doing right. I didn't understand at the time about sugars, the quantity finding in them. So a lot of times too, that's very important because those create the sicknesses, it creates inflammation in the body. And with Taurus, there's a lot about getting bigger, so what happens is we're feeding into our nervous system, getting bigger, those sugars, and doesn't allow, just think of it as wires. Okay, and then when our body gets inflamed, it puts pressure on the wire, and then it doesn't allow the necessary messages to pass through the nervous system, and they get kinks and movements and stuff because they're now pushed because of the inflammation. All right, so a lot of times people who have headaches really are just stuffed up in their intestines. Okay. And they're like, what they're doing is they're taking medicine for symptoms, not the causes. And that's another thing with Taurus, is clearing out the causes. Clearing out because of the cow too, which represents the milk. And a type of mothering. It's a different type of mothering. Cancer is a nurturing mothering, more of holding, of body to body. This is a different kind of nurturing, of providing, for a comfortable home where we can just relax and put our feet up, so there is a distinction there compared to the mothering of just providing an abode, like in Capricorn, and finances. So here we're talking about putting comfort. What is comfort? Things have to be practical, yet comfortable and pleasing to the eye. So whereas when Uranus was in Aries, it was just practical, functionable. Let's go. I want something fast. Now we're realizing microwaves is dangerous. In fact, if you have a business and you only have microwave as an option to warm up the food, you're actually, you have to have something different, like the hot plates. Okay, so that way people can warm up their food, because if you don't allow that, them to warm up their food, you're going to end up having a court case against you because you are not allowing your workers to be healthy. You are instigating and you're emphasizing bad health, because not all food should be eaten cold. And the body cannot function when from food that is cold as well. Okay, it can hinder because the body constricts when we put too much cold stuff in the body. And if you're addicted to having something cold, that also says how much heat you have in you. And being aware of everything that is going on. If you don't know and you want more ideas or more explanations regarding the health, please contact me at info@Celestial Soul Wellness. I am a life health and wellness coach and nutritionist. So by all means, values, when we're going into the values, I am a minister also. Taurus is all about our values and belief systems. I hear so many people in certain, and before I say my next statement, I'm going to interrupt myself and say, I understand. It is so hard to be streamlined perfect. Okay? And so whatever I say is not criticism. It's to bring awareness, because Lord knows. The universe knows. Ragnar, the plants, trees knows. I try. And at times it might sound like I'm criticizing or judging. It's just to bring awareness. Because a lot of times I have to teach awareness to my clients, to my people, okay, to my students and who I mentor. Because otherwise, what happens too is we start criticizing ourselves, thinking we are lacking, that we are incomplete, that we are undeserving, all right? And that is not true. I'm bringing awareness so they can see how other people are just as human. And in this time we appear with Uranus and Taurus, we have to embrace our humanness and just laugh a lot of things off, okay? So, but being very aware of our vanity, Uranus and Taurus, the vanity is, if you're one of those, who like to post a lot of selfies, be aware that if your postings are 80% selfies, you are also sharing with the whole world your mentality, your emphasis, where your focus is, okay? Instead of saying that you are valuable, also on an intellectual, okay, on a thinking level, on a physical active level, all right? If those selfies are 80% or about beauty, unless you are in the beauty field and it's your career, just make sure you put, hey, so-and-so cosmetics or so-and-so hairstyling or so-and-so, whatever the beauty field is that can emphasize and reinforce your picture. If not, you're showing that is what your value is and only is. Now, if you have children, guess what you are teaching them then? What to value in people, okay? Then going to beliefs, again, Taurus is about belief systems also. So when whatever we do, people see us and you're like, I don't care what people think. That's fine. But you do care about what you're the ones that you're arguing with, because they're the ones you're arguing with because they're your loved ones and you're keeping them in your circle for a reason. And so think about what you're projecting to them. What are you doing? Okay? And there's a whole philosophical argument people can have about this. Well, you walk like a duck, you talk like a duck, you must be a duck, right? Then we have, the clothes don't make the nun. In Spanish, el hábito no hace la monja, okay, or el monje. And so there are two sets. We need to see past the cover of the book, okay? But be aware that human nature, even our own, at a first glance, we're going to assume certain things. And then we wonder why. The other day someone told me about how my son reads so much. And I was just like, oh, I know. I was so proud, okay? Because I used to read to him when he was in my womb. He's probably tired of my voice now. I'm going, oh my gosh. When I say his name, sometimes he's like, and I already know that look, going, okay, maybe I've talked too much for him today. He needs to have some silence time from mommy. But anyway, so, and I read to him when he was in the bathtub, and I would read to him at night. So I would encourage him then, him reading to me. And now he likes to read. Now he has liked to read all his life, and he's an adult now, and he still reads. And it's just like, yeah, and that also too is very important, because he's not going to just hear headlines and take that as the rule of thumb. He is going to question it, and that is something needed to do, is to question. This is when we were, right now we're in the age of Aquarius, which is a lot of change, a lot of social changes, okay? What is masculine energy? The interchange of energy and nature, because the water carries electrical current. That's why Aquarius is the water bearer. It's not the water, it's the water bearer. It carries, okay, the electrical current. You know, and so realizing energy does, how are we absorbing, how are we allowing that energy to come into our lives? And you know what, I just realized I never went back to the gym where they should have plants in the gym. Those are certain places, very important. Any institution where there's large groups of people, anywhere there's going to be banquets or conferences, discussions, should have tons of plants in there to be cleaning out the air, all right, and having it there, so that way they can interchange with Mother Nature. Or have the conferences outside. I know there's several conferences I have denied because, oh my gosh, being locked up 8 hours with a bunch of other people who are full of toxins, breathing, and then they're offering crap. They don't even offer a decent, healthy meal. And then saying if I don't go, I don't get certified, and then I don't get what is it called? A raise, is really detrimental and harmful and negligent on the boss, okay, and on these other corporations and businesses that don't offer alternatives, okay? So you're going to see more, because of the comfort, is you're going to see more people doing conferences online in the comfort of their own home, okay? Or where they can still be in healthy environments, because being closed up is very against the Uranus and Taurus age group, okay? And so I mentioned also too, when we had the age of Aquarius, okay, let's go back many ages ago in the age of Taurus, that was idolizing. And a lot of people do idolize material items, and they feel that that is the only way to meter or to grade themselves if they're successful or not. And it isn't. It's just one method to certain people. Now, certain people do have that need. You know, there are people with their sole purpose in Gemini is to be superficial, okay, and their sole purpose in Taurus, all right. So is to be a little bit more glutton, all right, and especially if their Venus is in there, oh gosh, you know. And in the if you know someone with their North Node in Taurus in the second house ruled by Venus, they're going to be really one glutton person, and that's their purpose. And we have to just let it, you know, because they're those karmic experiences. So we're going to have certain karmic experiences during this time. Okay, I just want to bring forth too that, you know, there's going to be changes of our what we need. You know, during the time we're not, it's going to be oil versus electricity.